And now, it's Ultimate Combat Radio with your host, Mike Stidham on 1280 and 97.5. The Zone, brought to you by Aztec Highway, WDFA.
Yay, Digger.
Welcome to Ultimate Combat Radio, Utah's only all mixed martial arts radio show. Mike Stidham here, bringing you all the latest news in the world of mixed martial arts from the studio of 1280 The Zone. It's Friday, 11/25/11. It's Black Friday, no less, the day after Thanksgiving and the beginning of the Christmas holiday season. This segment is brought to you by Ultimate Combat Training Center and Mushin Self-Defense. What better place to pick up something for someone you care about for Christmas than those two places? Teach them how to buy them some means of learning how to defend themselves, or learning how to get in shape, all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, come in and get a fight course shirt at either place. You guys have the Aztec Highway remote location out at your spot, and we have the full fight core line at our place. And in either location, people could, sign their loved ones up for lessons or even private lessons. I know you've been doing a lot of those out at your place lately, Mike.
We have been, and we still have the special going on right now, the free week of mixed martial arts training, and you can get that by walking into some of our participating locations out there in the Draper area and pick up what they call free vouchers for free week. And you can get those at Czech City in either Sandy or Draper. Obviously, Aztec Highway on 3300 Southwest Temple, Britain's Family Restaurant, and Wasatch Deli in 9400 South and 7th East. Savers on 41st South and Redwood Road, and Planet Play and Leatherheads right there in the VF Factory Outlet Mall. Now, we also picked up a couple of other new places. Rockstar Hair Salon out there in Draper on 272 East and 12300 South. I get my hair cut there, and it looks super fantastic.
You do look like a rock star, Mike.
I do, and I feel like a rock star, and I have to say, the ladies that work there look really good. They make you feel like a rock star, so it's a good place to go. And then also Wings out there in Draper, and I believe we might have even have Debbie from Wings. Did we get Debbie on the line?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, well, Debbie is not on the line, but Debbie, from we're going to talk to her in a minute. She's going to let us know about they have UFC fights there and that kind of stuff. So something to get going down at out there in Draper if you're into such things. And they obviously college football is going on there big tonight.
Oh, that's a good spot we could go to for some upcoming fights and food, Mike.
You could watch the Utes lose to whatever team of the week is that week, and that's a horror. I'm still in shock they lost tonight. I'm saddened. All right, well, our poll question this week, kind of in tune with the Thanksgiving holiday and then the beginning of the Christmas holiday season. What are you thankful for in mixed martial arts? What are you grateful that's been going on? And I compiled myself a top 5 list of things that I'm grateful for in the world of mixed martial arts. And number one, I've seen an influx of really super athletic fighters come into the scene.
No Debbie, but a Jamie instead.
And those fighters, I think the level of athleticism has increased tenfold in the last year. So you've seen the John Joneses of the world and those kind of things. And I've been real impressed with how they've grown in as far as there's more parity in the fighters. And I've seen the guys that are really good, the GSPs of the world, they're getting better. They're not just kind of hanging out like some of the old champions of the UFC used to be. They're getting better. So the fighters are number one. And then I really think that just this last month, the UFC getting on Fox is a monumental thing, and they signed with Budweiser this last year. So those are two big monumental milestones, if you will, for the sport to grow. And the UFC has certainly made their inroads this last year. I do want to kind of touch on that, though, because last week we mentioned that Dana White kind of had some comments that he's been making on Fox. And so this is where I think the UFC may have a little bit of a problem. And maybe, Barton, you can help me out with this. Dana White's not exactly what you call a politically correct individual. He speaks, what he's thinking, and that doesn't really fly well on network television. Did you get a chance to see or hear some of the things that he said over the past couple weeks?
He's been defending a lot of criticism about the UFC on Fox show. A lot of people were upset that they only offered one fight, and this fight they did this year wasn't part of the deal. The real Fox deal starts next year.
Right.
And so they put one fight on as kind of an introductory announcement type gig. Well, that fight went.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That fight was so short, and everybody was wanted to warm up for the heavyweight belt, and it was out in 1 minute.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of shift gears for just a minute here because I understand we did get somebody from Wings online. Who did we get?
Jamie.
Demi. Hey, are you there?
Yep.
Well, how the heck are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing awesome. I want to thank you for coming on the air with us. And I wanted you to just kind of let people know what they can find out there at Wings if they were to drop in at 12300 South and 121 East.
What you can find here, we've got 6 big screen TVs, and you can have, like today we've got all the college games on. So you just kind of come in and decide where you're going to set, and you decide, what game you want to watch, and you just ask any one of the servers if we can, put that game on. Now, having said that, same goes with the NFL package. First come, first serve. If you're the first one in the building, you get to choose what game you want on our biggest screen TV.
Pretty cool. Now, I understand you also do some UFC fights there as well.
Yep, we do. We pick and choose which ones we think are going to be good ones. So what we do when we decide that we are going to do them is we make sure that we have the posters made up and we post them on our store. And we also post events on our Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Draper Wingnuts with a Z. So basically it's just kind of a word of mouth thing.
Well, very good. All right, well, check their Facebook page, and also we'll if we're going to do any UFC parties ourselves, we'll post that on our Facebook page as well. Debbie, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. And then also they can find free week vouchers there for the Ultimate Combat Training Center as well.
Absolutely.
All right, good stuff. Thank you so much for coming on the air.
No problem.
All right, let's get back to my top 5 things that I'm thankful for in regard to mixed martial arts. And, we talked about the Fox deal. We talked about the fighters. And the UFC has made tremendous inroads in expanding into different markets, and I'm talking about overseas. They really made some inroads in Japan and Europe and those kind of things. So I think that's going to be the nexus for the UFC and the sport itself growing. And really one day, Brandon, I hope this is an Olympic sport. That's what I think is going to be a big monumental change for us.
Yeah, I've been hoping for that for a long time too. I mean, what better way to decide truly what country is best in the world than having 2 guys fight. The best guys from each country fight and determine it that way. I mean, really, skiing,
Yeah, you're better skiers than us. We kick your ass in a fight.
Yeah, you guys have big mountains with snow on it, so of course you're better skiers. But anyone can learn how to fight. So let's
I
see
remember
who the toughest guy in the world is.
In high school, when our basketball team lost to our rival high school, we said, "Yeah, but we beat you in the fight after." So we didn't really care. You guys beat us on the court. Who cares? We beat you up afterward, and that's really a fight, man. That's bragging rights. You can't take that away. Right. What are you gonna do?
MMA might have a real shot at that bid to be supported by the Olympics because every country's got their own kind of martial art, and it comes from all around the world. Whereas things that you'd consider more mainstream, like football, that's an American thing. It's
culturally ingrained in just about every country that you fight.
Yeah.
You know how to fight. So because war is such a cool thing, I guess, right, Brandon? We had this conversation. Fighting's awesome, war is not so good. All right, the UFC in general, I just kind of, these guys blazed the trail for the sport, and I don't think a lot of people take into account the legal battles that they're always embroiled in. Right now they're suing the state of New York to become to let the sport be legal there, and they're constantly fighting other lawsuits being brought against them. So I just think the UFC in general has blazed a trail, and they deserve some recognition, and the sport's not going to get any bigger and better without them. But in a spirit of Thanksgiving, I just want to kind of be thankful for all the gluttony. I'm a kind of a gluttonous guy. I really, like when I ate yesterday, I couldn't stop eating. In fact, I haven't stopped eating since yesterday. And I'm kind of the same way with MMA. There's just so much of it. Last weekend, as an example, if you wanted to go to a cool live event, you went down to the Showdown fights, and the next night you were able to watch the UFC with Dan Henderson and Shogun putting on just one hell of a show. And then the night after that, if you were so inclined, you could stay up late and watch Fedor and Jeff Monson, and so, I mean, there's just so much of it, and it's everywhere. It's on every channel, and so I just want to. I think the sport's growing, and it's so accessible now that I just want to be. I'm thankful for that.
You're right. Bellator even was going on simultaneously with the UFC last Saturday, so fights are starting to overlap each other.
Right. And big fights are starting to overlap each other, which is very, very cool. And then the second part of our 2-pronged poll question is, what's on your wish list for the coming? What would you like to see on your Christmas wish list for MMA? And my wish list, obviously, I think I would love to see the UFC come to Utah. I think it's something that could very well happen. The only way it's going to happen is if Bill Colbert gets hit by a bus, which I don't want to wish anything negative to happen to the guy. But gosh dang it, bus drivers can be
We
careless
just wish he'd get on a bus.
There you go, man. Somebody pack his bags and send him on a bus. And, I really think he is kind of a key factor here because he makes rules and regulations that the UFC will never follow. If they were to come here, they'd never be able to. So unless he gets out of the way, I just don't foresee that happening. So that's my grateful wish and my wish list right there.
Well, thanks, Mike.
And I'm going to check in with you guys and check and see what you guys are later in the program. But let's say, Brandon, hypothetically, a listener was listening to us right now and they wanted to kind of share with us their wish list and their what they might be thankful of. How would they go about doing that?
Well, give us a call at 405 or 670-1280 or text us. Start with the word zone and text the number 53318.
Oh, man, you got that thing down. All
I
right,
got
so
it.
I'd love to hear from you because I've had some people on our Facebook page and that have kind of weighed in, and I've really been interested in some of the stuff that I've heard back. So feel free to give us a call. Now, I don't want to pass up this week's Badass of the Week. And last week I said, look, I rarely give this to a fighter because, I just think there's so many badasses out there. But I just can't, after watching Dan Henderson fight, and I had a lot of people suggest some really good ones this week, but man, how do you not give that guy recognition after watching that fight? Just what a tough showing, and he just showed so much heart. And I know you know this, Brandon, but I'm not a big fan of MMA in the sense that I'm kind of goo-goo over certain fighters. This guy, I'm gaga over him.
You're goo-goo over
I have
Dan
a man
Henderson.
crush on him, whatever you want to call it. The guy has got so much heart, and I love Dan Henderson.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to a friend of mine who was at the UFC cornering one of his fighters, and he told me that Dan Henderson and Shogun both left on stretchers, in ambulances, side by side, giving each other the thumbs up.
That
after
doesn't
the
surprise
fight.
me.
So I think it's a great pick for Badass of the Week.
It was good stuff. And if you haven't seen that fight, go to MMAlinker.com, and it's up there. It's free. You can watch it. I hadn't watched it till today, and it's pretty dang good. So, all right, coming up on the program, there is going to be a a Colbert report. It's been a while since we brought you a Colbert report, but we've got one for you. Bill took a little time off. As you know, he's a city councilman. He had to run for office, and he was back campaigning a little bit, but he's back. And back, creating hate and discontent, and he's made some new rules that are just silly. We're going to talk about those. Also, coming up in just a few moments, UFC's Martin Kampmann will be joining us, coming off a big win with over Rick Story in UFC 139. So we're really happy to be talking to him, see what lies in store for him. Also, a lot has transpired over the last few weeks in the UFC, and we had to bring in a guy who knows more than you and I will ever know about the UFC, Brandon Barton Burdett. He's going to be on the program, and maybe you can kind of tease us a little bit. Tell us what you're going to be talking about.
We're going to talk about the recent heavyweight championship belt in the UFC. Dos Santos recently knocked off Cain Velasquez. We'll talk about UFC 139 from last week, the upcoming Ultimate Fighter finale, and maybe even get a touch on 140 and 141.
All right, perfect. Okay, 456-45 or 670-1280 is the studio line. Give us a call if you want to call in. We got more Ultimate Combat Radio brought to you by Aztec Highway when we come back.